Watching Morning Express. Of course, we are on the discussion of the removal of NTSA from the road. Now, I have something I want you to listen. It is of CS Fred Matiang'i on court interference of police performance. Let's listen in.
And we need to support the police. As I said, what would you do if you were Mr. Boynet? You kick out 127 officers. They arrive at your door tomorrow with court orders. So what is Boynet supposed to do? And then you kick out 2 others today from Weybridge. Tomorrow they are back with court orders that prescribe even where they should return and work. You know, it's as if the magistrates and the others who are giving them don't see what we see. I've never seen a case where judicial officers prescribe where people should go back to. They say, oh, you should go back and work there. So that you see, people should stay in that particular station to continue causing the pain and the frustrations. So let's work together. We will talk to our colleagues in the judiciary on this issue. In fact, we will put together a report and we will seek a meeting with our colleagues in the judiciary on this matter to see that whatever suggestions we make are followed. We are not going to act unfairly.
All right. Simon, you seem to be shaking your head. Do you agree with the CS there?
I do. I do agree a lot because, you know, I think there's mess everywhere.
Yes.
When a good Kenyan would accept to be charged for an offense that he has committed, he is subjected to procedures that next time it will force him to give a bribe. A traffic case, for instance, would maybe you're traveling from Kisumu to Nairobi, you're probably arrested in Nakuru for overspeeding. You're taken to court. It will take you more than a month for a judgment to be reached.
Yeah.
You will be subject to court every day. And even at times, police officers who are supposed to give evidence against you do not arrive in court. So I think we had proposed earlier on that we have an instant ticketing mechanism where you will choose to plead guilty and sign, and given time, maybe 14 days, to pay the fine. I think most Kenyans would choose to pay this money to government, but the only problem would be when you are subjected to lengthy procedures that really wastes your time, and yet somebody probably could have been demanding for 500.
Yes.
So what happens? You easily part with the money. So I think justice dispensation has got to be looked at. The courts, I agree totally with Minister Matiang'i that, like, for instance, a police officer has been caught red-handed. They haven't been, they have the treated money. And the courts gives them an order to go back to work. And what does it do? It's very demoralizing for those officers who are arresting. Now, what has happened now? The tact has changed. The anti-corruption today finds it very difficult to arrest a police officer, a traffic police officer who's collecting bribe. Why? They've now gone to the roads armed.
Right.
They're with machine guns. How will you arrest a traffic officer who is armed and is taking bribe? So this complicates matters more. Okay. So I think there needs to be a conversation by, you know, I would say all stakeholders, police, judiciary because of prosecution, public transport operators, whichever body that would get involved and make it better.
Okay. Oscar, do you share the same thoughts?
I share the same. I would only add that, and as I said, the automation of processes and these regulatory procedures would work better.
Yes.
Because it would be very difficult to compromise automated process. And if it happens, then it would be investigated fairly easily and it would work for the government.
Right.
So what you do is you put in place road information systems, you know, management systems, things, you know, storage of data that would be able to show that my brother here has been a driver between Mombasa Road, between JKIA to town. He was involved in careless driving.
Yes.
It is recorded.
Like the smart driving license that is supposed to be
it is recorded.
Yes.
It can be availed if need be, even 5 years to come. We would know that, you know, on this date and time he was involved in this kind of accident and he was actually charged for being careless. And so these are some of the punitive measures that when automated, we all know the kind of impunity of Kim's people, the way they drive on the roads, the way they bully people on the roads. And Kim also should they should work on a strategy on training. They should find ways and means of letting their people know how road safety, interferes with. If you look at the pedestrians, today, 70% of people who have died are pedestrians. And why is this happening? It's because of the way with which Kimutai's boys make use of the road. You see a lot of impunity in the way they handle themselves.
Yes.
You see a lot of indiscipline, and they don't care, and they are careless, that they would talk to you the way they want, and this, I think they have also been missing it.
Yes.
I'm sure he must be planning something. And over-reliance on the circles to discipline their people may work, but may not work 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, because also circles, part of the people who form the management of the circles are the same drivers.
Yes.
Okay? And then they are the same owners of these vehicles. And they are giving these people targets. Okay? This is a young man who you don't know very well. Today, if you ask them for records of these people, they are not vetted properly.
Yes.
From a risk perspective, they have created more harm on the roads than before.
Okay.
Yeah, so what they need to do, they need to carry out proper vetting. They need to know these people. They need to tell us what is it that they have done since this young man was involved in an accident. What happens is a vehicle is on lease, on a daily lease. Okay?
Okay.
And when a vehicle is on a daily lease, you expect this young man to bring you some money by the end of the road. If you look at the problems we've had for the last 1.5 years on politics.
Before we continue, I want us to listen to Simon Kimtai on record saying something.
A training center for PSV, passenger service vehicle drivers, should be established by the ministry. We recommend training by the National Youth Service that we have approached and are willing. Number 7, all briefcase SACCOs and companies should be registered. To vet them, each SACCO should be required to file annual audited accounts. This will phase out the cartels. To add to this, SACCO leaders should be owners of PSV vehicles and not otherwise. Each SACCO should file quarterly returns to National Transport and Safety Authority. The number of vehicles required for a PSV SACCO or company to be licensed should be increased so that small SACCOs will merge with big ones to avoid a lot of competition, which breeds cartels.
Simon, I'll let you respond to that. But first, David, you've been laughing. Please share your thoughts.
That is Kimutai wearing a different hat now.
Yes.
Fighting his own SACCO wars, protecting businesses. Why is it that only in Kenya that we need SACCOs to be public service vehicle owners? I mean, it's just another way of creating another cartel for a few people. And you can listen from Kimutai's argument that the number of vehicles owned by a SACCO. Where would a young man who wants to own a public service vehicle from the university get 200 vehicles to put on the road, Kimutai? We must be sensible. Yeah. We are a free market. We must operate like other countries. We cannot be creating these small gods called SACCOs run by cartels who have connection with those in power, those in big businesses, and those in money laundering. And then we purport that they should be 3 or 4 or 5 only. No, that is the wrong way of doing it. And I will go to Oscar's proposal that we need a national conversation, and which is why I fault the president. You don't need to make such a policy at a funeral, which is a mourning ceremony for the families.
Yes.
We need a national conversation where we have experts making proposals that have worked in different countries, making proposals that are people-driven, public participation, and not one man, I will enforce this. The Matiang'i style of doing things, it won't work. We must have proper national dialogue with proposals that meet global standards.
Which is overdue, yes?
Overdue.
Christmas.
And just on the roads also, let us not also blame just the matatu drivers and public service vehicle drivers. Busia to Kisumu Road, I think I've counted more than 30 manholes and potholes. We have road engineers who are being paid by taxpayers. We have the so-called NTSA. We have traffic officers. There's not even a single sign written in you know, that there's a big pothole here which is dangerous for you,
yes,
there must be action and people must be responsible for the sections of the roads that they
So bottom line is we shouldn't just blame NTSA.
Sure.
The government in general should be blamed.
Yes, and the infrastructure must be expanded. Why do we have the same road going to Busia for 15 years and you keep on having people saying we are growing economy, we are the best in the region? Which best? The roads are narrow.
Okay.
That's why your people are dying.
All right, Crispus. Before Simon, in response to what he just said on air.
All right, before Simon jumps in, I think I want to agree with Ohito.
Yes.
But where he's going wrong is actually politicizing this entire issue. We won't make a step forward if we keep on going back to politics. Every issue that comes up, we want to view it from a political, with political lenses. I think that is not the way to go. I totally agree with him when he says that we need a national conversation. We need to borrow best practices from all over the world. Look at countries like even Rwanda. How have they been able to manage? And by the way, Rwanda is like our small brother. It is even, it is shameful that we as a country are talking about how to manage a small issue like controlling accidents on our roads when our small brother, just the next door, Rwanda, is far much ahead of us. So where exactly is the problem? And that's why the stakeholder engagement is very necessary at this point in time. Number two, looking at the clip from Kimutai.
Yes.
I think fine, Ohito has taken a swipe on him. But I think looking at some of the proposals that he had, they actually make a lot of sense. Because right now, we need to deal with impunity by, first of all, addressing the cartels on our roads. And I think this is something that the Honorable Fred Matiang'i is going to take up because it looks like his colleague James Macharia has not been able even to come up with a single policy for the entire 4.5 years that he's been there. Look at the policy announcement that was being made by the head of state. Is it not that should actually have come from him? But very unfortunate, this CS has just been there.
Yet he's been named as the cabinet all over again.
It's really unfortunate.
Yes.
It's really unfortunate when you come across such pronouncements.
Yes.
Unfortunately, from the president. The reason I'm saying this is because if we are properly policy-driven, and this is the reasons why the cabinet secretaries are there.
Yes.
And the cabinet secretary does not work alone. He works with bodies, agencies, and all these organizations, including the traffic police officers, who then are supposed to advise him.
No.
You understand?
He is actually... The buck stops with the CS.
I agree.
You are the man in charge. You can't say that so-and-so has to advise me before I make a policy.
But you see, when there is no policy on the table, then such pronouncements will be effective. You expect, like Ohito says, a CS or probably an agency in charge, like Major, should come up quickly and say, and fault where mistakes have been given. Because every action of an in charge of an agency of this nature is supposed to be policy-driven.
Yes.
And there are stipulated key performance indicators that talks, against the strategy which they are deploying.
Let me ask you, did we start having accidents on our roads yesterday?
They've been there with us.
So when you say that somebody cannot just wake up and make a policy on a particular matter, I think that is, you're not being honest.
Simon wants to say something.
These gentlemen they want to dominate and yet they are making accusations against my organization. First, I want to correct the notion that there are cartels. Nobody would be able to go into public transport business because of cartels who have already taken over and are making decisions. One is that SACCOs are corporate entities, that every individual who goes into public transport has got to prescribe rules. There are the rules that he must adhere to. The reason.
All right, we'll be coming back to you shortly. Ohito, please respond to him.
I'm not
we want to fix your mic. We want to fix your mic. That is all.
Okay. Thank you, Ashley. What I was saying is that we have SACCOs in other sectors.
Yes.
Why would you have different rules for SACCOs only for transport? Those are issues which need to be debated.
Yes.
We have rules and laws that govern this country. We cannot be having, replicate laws just to protect a few vehicle owners. And I was challenging you try and investigate who the vehicle owners are in this country, and you'll start knowing why we have the problem. They own the insurance firms, they own the spare part supplies, they own the licensing system. That is why when Kimtai coughs, even Matiang'i will have his head turning around because he knows the power he wields, either through a very well-organized group of people doing business, but he also borders on a cartel. So he wields a lot of power, but I'm saying that power can be used to save lives. I have never seen Kimutai complaining about Kisumu-Busia Road, which I think is the worst in this part of the world today. You'll never hear him saying that pothole needs to be fixed, that we are stopping our vehicles today until that pothole is... And if they do it, I'm pretty sure, I don't know where Macharia will get Biriman to fill that pothole.
All right,
why he doesn't do it, I have never known.
You know, we are business community. We don't blackmail. When we stop our vehicles, we lose. The government will not compensate us when we say we're going to stop the services. We've taken a different approach of negotiating and talking and placing everything on the table. That's why you don't see strikes anymore on our, everywhere in the country. One is that I want to correct that notion. It is not a cartel. A SACCO, if you go to Busia, there is a SACCO that operates within certain routes. So instead of, I think you need to understand, you need to have studied public transport before it was regulated to SACCOs, up to the time they are made to be SACCOs. It is more organized now that the SACCOs are able to make sure that the first vehicle that has come will have passengers boarding on it first. It is a tool that can organize operators so that there is no conflict and competition. Number two, anybody who wants to enter into the business is free. There's nobody who licenses. It's National Transport and Safety Authority. So that notion of that we probably are gaining so much and we are domineering is out of question, because everybody has that freedom to apply for the license and be licensed by the National Transport and Safety Authority. There is no SACCO which will deny you to operate in certain route and yet you have been licensed. Number two, I want to come to Awiti, who said about accidents. One thing is that the studies have shown that in 2016 and 2017, the reduction on road crashes was over, in 2016 it was 35% by involving public transport vehicles. In 2017 it was 40%. Now, that reduction, what I would want to say, number one, is that the saloon vehicles are the ones who are leading. And I don't know why you're thinking now that all accidents on our roads are caused by public transport matters, for instance. It is a wrong notion. If we went today, pedestrians are number one, who probably, but after the erection of guards that will not allow them to cross the road in any other place apart from the designated area, has actually reduced pedestrians being hit by vehicles. And in most cases, not matatus which hit them. They are hit by saloon vehicles because their speed is higher than matatus. So I want to correct this notion. There's been improvement, and we must give credit where it's due. Public transport, we know there is a problem of discipline. And we as investors in the public transport, we don't train them. We let them loose after with the passengers in the vehicles, we let them go. The policemen are supposed now to be enforcing the road on those who are going to break the law. What happens? They are the ones who are encouraging laws to be broken. Why does a person overlap and a policeman gets blind eye on it? Why don't we enforce the law as it is?
Crispus, you seem like you are disagreeing. What are your thoughts?
I don't know whether I want to have another swipe at my brother Kimtai, because you know he's making very dangerous accusations. For instance, when you say that the accidents that we see on our roads are caused by saloon cars, that when a saloon car hits a matatu, people die, because in December... No,
that is your word.
No, it is not my word. You said the too many accidents that we have on Kenyan roads are caused by... It's a study.
Get the NTSA statistics.
I don't know whether I want to buy that. But anyway, I think we need to move the conversation forward.
Yes.
And like we said before, let us now be serious about this matter.
Yes.
And we can only be serious about this matter when we start implementing the law as it is. Look at even the people that we give our public vehicles to drive. Kimutai will tell you some of them are hardly even 20. Let's be serious. I think the proposals that Dr. Matiang'i came up in conjunction with, I think, the Ministry of ICT and Transport came up with, these are things that should be put on the table like yesterday.
All right.
And we start implementing them, because there was an age limit for anybody who should be allowed to drive public vehicles.
Let's not forget there's this issue called, squads, squaddy, napatiana squaddy. So most of the times, yes, there's a driver, but then, when they're going for lunch breaks, they just hand over. Let's not always, blame him. He might not know what happens.
We are not blaming him, but
yes.
what we are saying is that it is good for us to be honest in our opinion, especially when we are talking on national TV.
Okay.
Because if at all we are honest with ourselves, we first of all must accept that we have a problem. And that problem is first of all caused by the cartels, individuals and other people that I don't want to talk about. Personally, I made a decision. I will not be harassed by a matatu driver on the road. And I think one of them came to know of it in a very bad way.
What happened, if you could just share?
Now, look here. You see, I'm driving on the left side of the road. This fella is actually driving on the right side of the road. He wants to enter a stage that is on the left side of the road. And this guy wants to bully me. So eventually, he hits me. It is so open.
Yes.
And when you speak to a traffic cop, very unfortunate, because I don't want to believe most of them are like that. But it was very unfortunate. This guy comes and says that you're on the wrong.
All right. So moving forward, of course, we've talked about the government, the innovation.
Yes.
As citizens watching us right now, what can they do, coming from them? I'll start with you.
Thank you very much. I think actually where we should be talking or discussing going into is about solutions,
yes,
and long-term solutions. This first day I will hear Kimutai and company saying outside circle that we are going to invest in trams,
yes,
for the cities and towns. I'll buy him a bottle of champagne, because that is how to transit masses in busy areas. The day I will hear Matiang'i not talking about enforcing traffic laws and complaining about judiciary not enforcing, but speaking of wider policy directions, that roads which were built in 1970s by Uhuru's father need to be doubled and expanded to be highways, I think I'll buy Matiang'i champagne also.
Okay.
We must start finding long-lasting solutions for public transport.
Right.
We must find a way of removing the long-haul tracks off our roads if they can use the rail. We must find alternative ways of investing in the rail system so that the SACCOs can own, whether they can own passenger wagons or whatever, to start transiting people on the rail, which is, I think, 2,000% safer than the roads. Then we'll be finding solutions. But if he wants Kimutai protecting his SACCOs, and which should be only 2,000 vehicles per SACCO, then we are still in a long problem for a long time.
Yes.
I agree with Kimutai is the question on the courts.
Yes.
I think that is serious, and it is a pregnant question that we must address, because we've seen even that, as far as the political issues are concerned, the courts have actually been a stumbling block to many implementation of our laws. Because like he put it, today somebody is arrested, tomorrow somebody is out. So I think that is something that is serious, that we must be able to, and that's where the stakeholder engagement comes in.
Yes.
Because if the Minister of Transport, Kimutai's institution comes in, and the courts sit down and address some of these issues, I think will be...
There are two comments I want to make.
Okay.
One is on, from a risk perspective, whether the kind of impunity on the roads, really result to accidents. I don't even know whether they qualify to be accidents. These are crashes that have been caused. And so they really don't make the proper meaning of an accident.
It's careless mistakes.
Yeah, it comes as a result of careless driving. It comes as a result, like, from his example. And the moment he's hit, honestly, it's no longer an accident because that is carelessness. And so when all of them are put together and then they're being told, like if you go into NTSA website and you're seeing 15 accidents, 30 accidents, some of them don't actually qualify to be accidents. They are carelessness that should be addressed. But then, I've said much about multidisciplinary and how NTSA should merge with other parties to be able. I'm not sure that we are going to scrap NTSA.
Okay.
You know, it was formed as a result of an act of parliament. And I'm sure the president is simply telling Major and his team that you guys go back and review your strategies. And when you are convinced me that you're going to do it well, then you can come back to the road.
All right.
The president is simply telling them, you need to do, you know, a public participation engagement. You need to understand, you need to buy in, you know, from the experts. What sort of research is NTSA doing, yeah, to make sure that, is it simply monopolized by road engineers? Where are sociologists? Did you know that as a result of lack of work due to politics that has been, you know, all over from the time we went into elections?
Yes.
People have not been earning. And if people have not been earning, and then you put these boys on the road, they want to make as quick trips, what you are calling squads. They want to make as quick trips as possible. They have bills to pay. They are, and people are actually affected because many trips you want to make, when you're going for your Mandondo lunch,
yes,
you want somebody who probably is not even qualified to be on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to quickly also do his squad and make it. This part of impunity is where we are telling Kim that you need to go back and work on it. But then the members of the public should also find a way through which, you know, they can come in to support the government.
All right, Simon, I'll let you have the last word.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to agree with the weighty that between 80 and 90% of crashes on our roads, I wouldn't call them accident as he has avoided.
Yes.
Those are crashes that could have been avoided. And that things need to be done right. I think there are so many wrongs that need to be corrected. The driving behavior is really wanting. And everybody knows that they are doing wrong. All of us know when I overtake from the wrong side, when I overspeed, I know that I'm doing wrong. Could it be high time now that everybody decided that we have to be patriotic enough because we've lost more than you know, what would have been expected on our roads? Because an accident, real accident, could have not even claimed 500 people in this country. But we see now we are 3,000 plus lives lost, without mentioning those who are maimed, those who are confined to wheelchairs, those who cannot be able to do the activities.
Yes.
There's real hurting to those people who have been involved in this. And I think it's high time for us to rethink. If I'm behind the wheel, what are my responsibilities? What am I supposed to do? Why am I doing 120? And yet the law is very clear that I'm supposed to do 100. Why should a policeman flag me down because of a mistake that I would have avoided?
Yeah.
So we need to be patriotic. We also want to tell our policemen they need to be patriotic. This country is ours. If the money they are taking on our roads for an offense committed is blood money.
Okay.
Because the person would continue in doing that and it could result in a crash that would probably spill blood. So it's upon us to take up responsibility. It's our own way of, you know, that we must really claim that I don't want to crash.
Okay.
I've driven for more than 20 years and I've never caused a single accident because I have chosen, it's a choice, to drive in the way that the law requires me to.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. We're out of time. David Ohito, Crispus Yankem, Oscar Witty, and Simon Kimtai, thank you very much. Always a pleasure having you. We take a short break here on Morning Express, but don't go too far. We come back with more.